we know that the polygon will be stored in the form of see, every object will be stored in the form of polygon surfaces, where it will have some properties like this geometric table will consist of the coordinates, like what is the vertex, the spatial representation. So this geometric data table will contain the point details, that is the vertex details, and the spatial orientation of polygon surfaces. So the geometric data table consists of vertex table, edge table, surface table. So vertex table will consist of all the vertex that belong to that polygon. The edge table will consist of all the edges which will belong to that um, polygon, and the surface consists of the phases of that polygon, the list of vertices which will form the phases. So these are the things which we studied. And also the attribute table is there. No, attribute table is there. No, it will contain informations like the transparency of that object, and the texture thing, the texture part, the reflexivity part, and the transparency, all these are stored in the attribute table. So the geometric table will consist of vertex details, edge details, and the surface details. The attribute table will consist of the transparency of the object, the reflexivity of the object, then the texture details. All these things will be there in the attribute tables. So in this image, in this polygon which are shown, you can see we have three tables: vertex table, edge table, and surface facet table. So here the vertex table is identified. Each vertex is identified by their coordinates in x direction, y direction, and z direction. Like vertex 1 is given by the coordinate information x1, y1, z1. Similarly, vertex 2, like that. So, and one more thing which you should understand or which you should know is, see, uh, the vertex table. So, um, vertex table consists of coordinate values. So this is a coordinate value for v1, v2, v3, v4, v5. So we have five vertices for this polygon. Now the edge table. Now the edge table consists of uh, vertices which will form the edge. Here E1 is formed by the vertices v1 and v2. E2 is formed by the vertices v2 and v3. Similarly, E3 is formed by the vertices v3, v1. So here the edge table consists of the edges which are formed by the vertices, and this edge table will contain a pointer. So this edge table will contain a pointer back to the vertex table to identify the vertices for each edge. For each edge, what are the vertices? So that will be maintained through the pointer from the edge table to the vertex table. And similarly, the surface facet table consists of edges which form the surface. See here, um, E1, E3, and E2 is forming one face, and the other face is E3, E6, E5, E4. This is forming the second face. So two faces are formed to the edges. So this surface table, it will also contain a pointer. This will also contain a pointer back to the edge table to identify the edges for each polygon. So vertex table consists of only vertex and coordinate systems. Edge table consists of edges and a pointer which will point back to the vertex table, which will identify the vertex, which will identify, see, this edge table will identify the vertex for each, or the vertices for each edge. For each edge, what are the vertices? Similarly, the surface facet table will contain a pointer back to the edge table, which will identify what are the edges for the surfaces. For example, in this, the surface S1 is formed by the edges E1, E2, E3. So this is how it is represented. This is how it is represented. So um, if you are, see, this object polygon can be displayed efficiently by using the data from edge table. So you can use the data from edge table to display this object efficiently by identifying the boundaries of the polygon. So you can efficiently display the object by using the data from the edge table to identify the polygon boundaries. So you don't want to use the edge table. In that case, you can use only two tables the vertex table also you can use, and the surface also. If you're not using the, so this is one way of representing the object or displaying the object efficiently, um, by making use of the edge table, or by making use of the data from the edge table for identifying the boundaries of the polygon. So other method is, you can take vertex table, you can take surface facet table, but this method is little, uh, it is not that much efficient. Why? Because the edges, this edge will be redrawn twice. So this edge needs to be redrawn twice. So that's why this method is less efficient. So, or the other method is you can use only the surface facet table. So another possibility is you can use the surface facet table. So one thing is here, the coordinates will get duplicated. One thing is here, the coordinate information will get duplicated. So the, because um, because uh, see the coordinate, what why it will get duplicated, because the coordinate values are listed for each vertices in in this polygon faces. So because of that, this method is also less efficient. So in order to improve that, there is one more method, where so you can see that this is edge table. So this is edge table. This is edge table. So you can classify by E1, E2, E4, E5, 6. So one thing is, you can expand this edge table. You can expand this edge table to include forward pointers. So you can expand this edge table to include forward pointers into the surface facet tables, meaning here you can include, the forward pointers to the surface facet table, so that the common edge between the polygons could be identified more rapidly or more easily. So that is how it is being it is being modified. So you can expand the edge table to include forward pointers. See here, you can expand the edge table to include forward pointers into the surface facet table, so that the common edge between polygon could be identified more rapidly, more rapidly. So that is the one thing. And also, the vertex table can be expanded, so that the vertex table could be expanded to reference the corresponding edges for the for the faster information retrieval, so um, this is how the modification can be made. So this is how the modification can be made. So you can check this you can check this diagram here. um, edge 1 is here edge 1 contains the vertices um, v1, v2, and the surface s1. That means s1 contains the edge e1, and e2 also contains v2, v3, along with surface s1. See, we have drawn two diagrams. No, how the diagram is somewhat like this. So mm, see here, you can check that instead of drawing the diagram, so you can check. I will explain here only. See, it is divided into two parts. For the convenience. So see, edge e1, edge e1 belongs to surface s1, edge e2 belongs to surface s1, edge e3 belongs to surface s1. So that is what it is being given. Edge e1 belongs to surface s1, and edge e1 is found by the vertices v1 comma v2. Edge e2 belongs to surface v2, v3, and what is this v2, v3, and it is in the surface s1. Whereas edge e3 is the common one. So edge e3, it is a common one which belongs to s1 surface as well as s2 surface. So that's why here you're including two surfaces, s1, s2, and edge e3 is found by the vertices v1, v3, v1. Edge v4 belongs to surface S2, edge E5 belongs to surface S2, and edge E6 belongs to surface S2. So this is how so this is how it is being modified. So this is how it is being um, modified, so that so that so that the edges can be identified rapidly. Um, so here you can easily identify. So edge E1, E2, E3 belongs to surface S1, and E3 belongs to surface S1 as well as S2, and E4, E5, E6 belongs to surface S2. So this is useful for faster information retrieval. So any doubt here? Any doubt in this? So you can check that the same table is been modified to identify the common edges. So this is one way of identifying the common edges. So we here this data will give us the common edge. Any doubt here? Any doubt here? Hmm, any doubt? So next thing is testing for consistency and completeness. The next thing is for testing of consistency and completeness. So the graphic packages will perform some of the tests. So one thing is like you know that this this geometric data table consists of three parts: edge table, vertex table, surface facet table. So this geometric table will consist of more number of vertices, edges for complex objects. See, for simple objects, it doesn't matter. But when the object is very complex, or if you're describing a complex scene, so it will contain most, or it might contain more number of vertices, edges, or the extensive listing of vertices and edges needs to be done. So at that point of time, you should check for consistency and completeness. So for that, what are the test means? Every vertex is listed as an endpoint for at least two edges. Meaning, what is the first condition? Every edge. So these are the conditions for completeness and testing. So every vertex is listed as an endpoint for at least two edges. So here this vertex is shared between E2 and E1. So V1 is shared between E1, E3, E6. V3 is shared between E1, E2 and E3, sorry, E3, E2 and E4, and V4 is shared between E4 and E5. Similarly, V5 is shared between E6 and E5. So the first test is like every vertex, every vertex should be listed as an endpoint for at least two edges. So in this case, two edges, here it is three edges, at least two edges. So this is the first condition. This is the first condition. And the second condition is and the second condition is the second what is the second condition? Every edge is a part of at least one polygon. So here we have only one polygon. So there are no disconnected edges. So there is no disconnected edge like E7. We don't have any disconnected edge which is not a part of the polygon. Here all the edges are part of this polygon. See, E1, E2, E3, E6, E5, E4 are all these things are part of this polygon, and this polygon is closed. This polygon is closed. So see, you have not drawn something like this. So you don't have a polygon like this. So it is a closed polygon. And also the polygon is having at least one shared edge. So here E3 is the shared edge. And also um, so if the edge table contains a pointer to this polygon, each edge referenced by this polygon pointer as a reciprocal back to the polygon. So this is the fifth point or the last point. So we have 5 points which will use for testing the completeness of a polygon or the consistency of the polygon. The first thing is every vertex should be shared between at least two edges, or it should be an endpoint for at least two edges. And one thing is the polygon should be closed, and every edge should be a part of at least one polygon, and each polygon should have at least one edge which is being shared, and the polygon should be closed. So these are some of the points which we will check for consistency or completeness of a polygon. So after this, we'll talk about the plane equation. So we'll talk about the plane equations. Any doubts here? Any doubts with respect to the first two concepts? One is the polygon table, and the second one is checking the consistency of the polygon. Any doubt here? Any doubt? So any doubts? Yes or no? Okay. So I assume that mm, you people don't have any doubts. So first thing is why we are studying plane equation. Why we are studying plane equation? Because each polygon in the scene is contained within a plane of infinite extent. That means um each polygon can be described through this equation. So each polygon in the scene is contained within the plane of infinite extent. So by getting the plane equation, um, we'll be able to characterize the polygon. So the first thing is, what is the general equation of the plane? So the general equation of the plane is given by ax plus by plus cz plus d is equal to 0. So from this, we know that x, y, and z are the points. X, y, z, they are the points. The x, y, z, they are the coordinate points like x1, y1, z1, x2, y2, z2. Like this, they are the points x3, y3, z3, x4, y4, z4. So these are some of the points. So we know that each polygon in the scene is contained within a plane of infinite extent. So general equation of the plane is given by ax plus by plus cz is equal, plus d is equal to 0, where x, y, z are the points on the plane, or the points on the plane, or the coordinate points, you can tell. And a, b, and c, they are the coefficients. They are the coefficients which we will call it as the plane parameters. The plane parameters. So now if you now you want to obtain now you want to obtain the values of a, the values of b, c, and d. So for getting this values of a and b, um, you can obtain this values. The values of a, b, and c, can d, and can be the values of this a, b, c, d can be obtained by solving the plane equations. By solving the plane equations, you can obtain this a, b, c, d values, like the coordinate plane equations with coordinate values, with three non-collinear points. So if you want to obtain the coefficients of A, B, C, D, you can obtain that by solving the plane equations, the three plane equations with coordinate values, mm, with three non-collinear points like x1, y1, z1, x2, y2, z2, x3, y3, z3. So if in order to do that, first thing is we'll divide this equation by d. We divide this equation by d, so we'll get it as, the first one will be like a by d x, b by d y, c by d z. So first thing is, in order to obtain the values of a, b, c, d, we need to solve the plane equations by using the coordinate values with three non-collinear points. We will assume the three non-collinear points as x1, y1, z1, x2, y2, z2, x3, y3, z3. After this, after this, we are, since we are solving, right, we will divide this equation by d. So we'll get this a by d xk, b by d yk, c by d zk, which is equal to minus 1. How we are getting means, divide a by d x plus b by d y plus c by d z plus d by d. This will be 1, this will be 1, so this will be 1, which is equal to 0. So if I shift this to right hand side, so it will become minus 1. So that's why you'll get the equation where the value of k will be 1, 2, 3. So now Now you have got this equation. Now you have got the equation A by D, B by D, and C by D uh, is equal to -1. Now you can obtain now for the solution for this. The solution for this equation can be obtained by using Cramer's rule. So the Cramer's rule can be used to obtain the solution for this equation. So according to that, the value, the coefficient A is given by the x coordinates will be 1, 1, 1. The y coordinates will be y1, y2, y3, y3. This is not z, this is 3. Again, z1, z2, z3. Sorry, z3. So determinant. So the coordinate for B will be x1, x1, x2, x3. Y coordinates will be 1, 1, 1, and z coordinates will be z1, z2, z3. And C can be obtained. For C, Z will be unit value 1, 1, 1. The rest will be x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3. So it is y3. So you can get the values of, see, you're converting this into this form where a plus b plus c something ax plus bx plus cz is equal to -1. Now using the Cramer's rule, you can obtain a solution for A, B, C. So for A, the x coordinates will be unit value. That is x1, y1, z1 will be unit value. So it will be 1, 1, 1. Then again, the remaining the two positions will be y1, y2, y3, z1, z2, z3. Similarly for B, the y coordinates will be the unit value. So I am replacing with 1, 1, 1. Like this, I am getting the determinant. And for the z and for the z is given by x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3, z1, z2, z3. So the z can be obtained by using this equation. So that is being listed here. So that is being listed in this, for in the next equation. The next equation that is being listed. You just check this. You just check this. So the plane of an equation is represented by ax plus um, by plus cz is equal to plus d is equal to 0. So after that, where x, y, z is a point on the plane, and the a, b, c, d are the coefficients. So you can obtain the values of a, b, c, d by solving the plane equations using coordinate values for three non-collinear points in a plane. In our example, x1, y1, z1, x2, y2, z2, and x3, y3, z3, and you can obtain the plane equations for a by d, b by d, and c by d. So once we get into this form, we can obtain this value of A, value of B, and value of C and D by using Cramer's rule. So by using Cramer's rule, we can obtain the solution for this equation. We can obtain the solution in determinant form. So these are the this is not a matrix. This is a determinant. So this is a determinant. It's not a matrix. It is a determinant. So the value for the determinants are given here. A is equal to 1, 1, 1. Then y1, y2, y3, z1, z2, z3. B they are given like this. So you should know how to expand the determinant also. So plus minus plus, minus plus minus, then plus minus plus. So this is how the determinant will be given. So I'll solve for A and B. So I want to get this equation. How this equation is obtained means this equation is obtained by expanding the determinant. By expanding the determinant, you will get this equation. So the first terminal is 1, no? So 1, no? So 1 means cancel this line. So how I'm getting this equation? So cancel this line. So 1 into y2 z3. See, 1 is plus. So plus 1 into y2 z3. y2 z3. If you're going from if you're going from this line to this line, it will be minus y3 z2. Then the second one, then the part, the second part is y1. So y1 should be minus. So minus y1 into, cancel this part, 1 into z3 minus z2, z3 minus z2. Again, the last one is plus. So plus means z1 into, cancel this part, 1 into y3 minus y2. So that is how this equation is being obtained. So that is how this equation is being obtained. So what they are doing means, here they have rearranged the equation. What they have done means, they have rearranged the equation. So let me check this, how they have rearranged. So y2 z3 minus y3 z2 minus y1 z3 plus y1 z2 plus y3 z1 minus y2 z1. So when I expanded these three terms, I got this equation. So how I'm getting means y1. So y1 they have taken common now. So here check, these are the terms which contain y1 as the common. So if I take y1 as the common, here y1 means the next term is z2. Z2 minus y1 have taken common, minus z3 plus next term what they have taken, y2. So where is y2? One term is here, y2, second term. So y2 means z3 minus z1, z3 minus z1. Again, after that, the last term is y3. Y3, where is y3? Y3, these two terms. So these two terms means plus y3 into z1 minus z2. Z1 minus z2. So this is how the determinant is being expanded. So if you expand the determinant, you will get the equation. So how you obtain this equation means, you should understand, that's all. How you are getting this means, you're expanding the determinant. Once you expand the determinant, you will get the value of a in the equation form, y1 into z2 minus z3 plus y2 into z3 minus z1 plus y3 into z1 minus z2. Similarly, the same operations you can repeat for b, c. D also the same thing. So D also the same thing. um, I'll just expand the D part. So because B and C, you can expand it. So for the D part, I'll just expand and I'll show the result. Um, for the determinant D, because it contains all the three terms, no, x term, y term, and z term, I'll just expand it. B and C, the same thing. The same thing how I've expanded for A, the same thing if you do, you'll get the result for that. So D is equal to, so you know that we just plus minus plus minus plus minus plus minus plus, the rules, I mean the then signs. So you don't consider this minus sign in the beginning, you just forget that there is a minus sign. So first I'll expand x1. So x1 plus sign, no, x plus x1 into y2 z3, y2 z3 minus y3 z2. So x term is expanded. After that, I want to expand y terms. So minus y1, because sign is negative, y1. So for y1, so x2 z3, x2 z3 minus x2 z3, x2 z3 minus x3 z2. So this term is also done, plus z1 into plus z1 into x2 x2 one second, x2 y3 minus x3 y2. So um, after this, you just multiply this. You multiply this, you'll get x1 y2 z3, and here x1 y3 z2. So I'll do that part also, so that so there is a minus sign here. So I'm just writing here. So I'll expand x1 y2 z3 minus of x1 y3 z2 minus y1 x2 z3 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 plus y1 x3 z2 plus z1 x2 y3 minus z1 x3 y2. So here you take the x term x1, you take the x1 first. So minus x1 y3 z2 one term and y2 z3, and the second term is here itself. It is here itself. So um, so I'll just take I'll just write it with, I'm not taking the minus in as of now. I'll take x1. So x1, if I take x1 common, see first term I need not expand that, but for your understanding I've expanded x1 y2 z3 minus y3 z2. The same thing will only come. Since I wanted to expand this, I'm just showing this. So after this, from here x2 is common, y1 x2 z3, and check for some other term with x2. So here also, see here you can check. So now take take plus x2 as common. So plus x2 means y3 z1, y3 z1. After that minus y1 z3. So x part is done, this part is done, this part is done, this part is done. So from here you take x3 plus x3 as common, plus x3 means y1 z2 minus y2 z1. So this is the equation after simplification. Now once I get this, I will subtract this equation with the minus. So this will become minus x1, this will become minus x2, and this will become minus x3. So this is the equation which I have obtained. So this is how, by expanding the determinant values, you will get the equations. You'll get the equation. So um, this is the way of solving the plane by using the Cramer's rule. So by using the Cramer's rule, I'm able to solve this equation by solving this equation. So any doubts with respect to this expanding the determinants and all? Any doubt here? Okay. See, that's also so by using these equations, we are able to get the values of A, B, C, and D, and also see, sometimes the polygon faces will not be within a single plane. So in that scenario, you can solve that problem by dividing those faces into a set of triangles, or by finding an approximate plane for that vertex. So one method which is being followed is, one method for obtaining that approximate plane is to divide the vertices into sublist, where each subset will contain at least three vertices, and calculate the parameters for this A, B, C, D for each vertices. So this is also another way of solving that. So this is regarding the equation of a plane. So in the next class, um, we'll talk about the front and back polygon faces. We'll talk about this front and back polygon faces, and uh, the fill area attributes, and the scan line algorithm, and the scan line polygon fill algorithm. So this algorithm is also very important algorithm from the examination point of view also. So we'll study these concepts in the next class. So I'll stop the class now. So remaining we'll see in the next class.